welcome. I'm Andrea Donenworth with WSU Global Campus, Global Connections, where we bring campus events to you online. For videos of our past events or a list of our up-and-coming events, please visit connections.wsu.edu. And tonight's event is A Meal to Fall in Love with our very own special executive chef, Jamie Callison. He's also the author of the cookbook, The Crimson Spoon. Thank you so much for being here, Chef.
Thank you.
Do you have an assistant with you tonight?
I do. Maddie.
Hi.
Like
I'm Maddie. I'm a food science major here.
Nice, thank you. And also with us are our guest tasters, Coug alum, Scott and Kelly Newell, who also happen to be WSU college sweethearts. Thank you so much for being here today. So, Chef, what's on the menu for tonight?
Well, we're going to start off with a cheese board, and then we're going to go into some salads, pasta, tiramisu, and then chocolate dipped strawberries.
Wow, that sounds delicious. For those of you watching online, please feel free to use the chat box if you have any questions or comments, and I'm sure Chef would be happy to answer those. So let's get started.
Perfect. Well, welcome to our kitchen. We're glad that you could join us tonight. So tonight we're going to kind of bounce around quite a bit, which is the way I teach. So again, it's truly my honor to be here. And so I'm going to start with my wife, and I know my wife's watching since we're talking about this meal. So this is one of my wife's and my favorite meal. People always ask a chef, what's your favorite meal? It always depends on the time of year and the occasion. One of our favorite things to do is actually just make a really good cheese board, charcuterie board, some nice jams and different things, and actually just watch a movie and just snack. It's a great way. The other thing, and that Maddie and I were talking about earlier is, and she studies wine too in her major, is the wines too. If you like a Riesling, the wines pair with it. If you like a Chianti or a Merlot, the cheeses have such a variety here and a diversity that you can actually enjoy whatever beverage you want, whether it be a wine or a beer. So what we have here is we have some assorted cheeses. So we have a triple cream brie, which is really sharp. And that also, when you have those sharp cheeses, it's good to have things like dried figs, almonds. The Macana almonds, the Spanish almonds are roasted with sea salt and rosemary, are absolutely amazing. We have our blue cheese. We have Manchego, which is a Spanish cheese, which is definitely one of my favorites. Cure Gold, if you don't have that on there, you shouldn't be in Pullman. So. And then we have wine-cured goat cheese, which goes extremely well with things like fig jam. And then we have our prosciutto, cappicaccio. We have our olives. And when you buy olives, if you can, I got a lot of this stuff at Trader Joe's. Around here, the olives are kind of scarce. But these are pitted Mediterranean olives, amazing flavor. And again, nice breads, some nice lavash, some nice crackers, and making this kind of a center piece of your evening. And this is fun because, I mean, all these things can be out for a couple hours. So you can actually have this out, be watching a movie, having a glass of wine. And this is a great also way if you have company over to start the meal. So have this out and have it ready to go. I also like not to cut the cheese up if I'm putting on a display like this. And if you don't leave it out for a couple hours, you leave it out just, let's say, for a half hour or so, you can rewrap all these cheeses up and reuse it. But if you start cutting it up, it gets a little harder to reuse. So, and then it also allows you to take exactly what you need. So this is, again, and there's plenty of different fig jams and jalapeno jellies and different things that you can experiment around with. I love dried fruit, like these are dried figs. And so just dried apricots go really well. Fresh pears go extremely well. So again, this can be one of those amazing dinners with very little effort, very little cleanup, and a lot of enjoyment. So then we come over to some work. I'm having a little technical difficulties with some of my equipment here, but I'm going to talk about two salads. One takes a little bit more work up front. The other one takes very, very little time. One of my favorite salads is spiced pecans, blue cheese, and then we have the poached pears with that, and of course the mixed greens and a simple vinaigrette. So to spice the pecans, and I always suggest that if you're spicing pecans and doing something, you definitely want to make enough that you can actually keep in a Ziploc bag and not just make enough for that night. Again, cooking at home, we all work a lot. but we want to do things that you can actually use and repurpose. So we're going to put a little bit of butter in here. I know that doesn't look like a little bit of butter, but it's quite a few pecans. So we're going to melt this a little bit. We're going to put a little brown sugar in here. We have a little salt. Now, if you're using salted butter, this recipe calls for unsalted butter. I would definitely suggest not using as much salt and kind of playing around with that. A spatula. We have a little bit of paprika here and a little bit of cayenne pepper. And again, this can be, if you decide as a family you like them a little spicier, you can put a little more cayenne in there. You want to melt the sugar completely before you add your pecans. And if you can see in the pan, you get a nice, everything's kind of melting together. Then we're going to add our pecans, and this recipe is actually dialed in perfectly, so it's perfect amount of butter and seasonings on here. And you see it looked like a lot of butter when we first put it in, but as we spread it around, it's definitely, the pecans are absorbing all that butter. So now it's important, we're going to brown this just a little bit. We're going to finish cooking these in the oven. Anytime you serve, whether it's a walnut, hazelnut, or anything, you have to at least toast it. That raw flavor of the nuts is not enjoyable at all. So we're going to, but with these, with the little sugar on there and the salt and the seasonings, it kind of takes it to the next level. But again, whether it's almonds or anything, you definitely want to at least do the toasting. So these are cooking a little bit. We're going to talk about our poached pear. I love poached pears. I think you can use them for dessert. You can use them for a salad. If you're using them for a salad, you're going to want to cook them a little bit less. You want them to be fork tender, but still have a little texture in them. If you're using it for dessert, I would definitely suggest cooking it a little bit more. And the dessert we're making tonight, actually, the mascarpone cheese, just the basic mascarpone cheese with some sugar and like candied hazelnuts work really good. That's a little off script, but so we're going to put the pear in the poaching liquid. And we kind of did this on purpose. The pear that we cooked earlier, if you look in here, the pear is not touching, it's not fully covered. If it's not fully covered, you want to at least cut it in half or even quarter it. If you want to make a poached pear and you want to serve it in about an hour, quartering it and then cooling down the pear after it's cooked in an ice bath in the liquid. So you keep the pan in the liquid and you put it in the ice bath and you cool it down really quick. As you can see, this pear is not totally covered. So you're not going to get that nice, even cooking on the pear. It's going to have white spots on it. So to bounce back to the pecans, they're starting to brown a little bit. We're going to be very, very careful not to burn these now. As soon as you see that little bit of smoke coming up, and you can kind of smell the toastiness from it, and I'm starting to see some caramelization in my pan. If you cook these fully in the pan, you're going to get burned spots, and it's going to create bitterness, which is not great for the salad. We're going to add a little red wine vinegar. The vinegar is going to do a couple things. It's going to add acidity, and we have the salt, and the acidity really play well together. It's also, we have the cayenne pepper in here, the salt, and the paprika that may have not been distributed evenly throughout all the pecans. So by adding a liquid in here and kind of creating that steam, all those spices and everything are going to be distributed evenly through the dish. Now we want to just cook this down to a glaze. You can grab the steel pat. And you can see how it's starting to, yes, it was starting to get a little sticky here. We're going to take that because right now this will burn very, very quick. We're going to put this on a silpat mat. You can take that away. And we're going to spread this around, and we're going to bake this for about 2 to 3 minutes. It does not take very long. And please, when you put these in the oven, about 350 degrees for just a few minutes, you definitely want to keep an eye on them because the caramelization of the sugars will burn very quickly. So now, for our salad, we have our poached pears. You're going to want to remove the stem a little bit. And then these you can now cut into nice slices or dices, and it makes for a nice salad. We're going to toss that salad here in a second. Hold up, I'll take the vinaigrette. So, to make your vinaigrette, she's doing amazing. It's like we work together all the time, but having somebody that actually anticipates your moves is not easy to do at all. So, great job. So, for your vinaigrette, this is not for snapping your siblings or anything like this. I always tell my students I had 3 older brothers. I was not good at snapping them because they were bigger and tougher than me, but I was very good at taking the towel away. So we're going to use this as a base. So we have this little base right here, and then we're going to take the bowl, and we're going to push it down into there, and that makes it where if you're mixing this, it's not going to move around on you. So a vinaigrette, we're basically making an emulsification. Emulsification is like taking like a lava lamp ingredients and mixing them together. And we do that by agitation, by mixing. A lot of people will take most dressings and blend them. This one we're going to call Frenching it, which means it's a temporary emulsion. We want to separate the fat molecules, but we're going to allow them to come back together a little bit. We're using very light greens tonight. If we were using romaine or something hearty, we would want to actually use a blender, add a lot of air and oxygen into this, and actually separate that fat and not allow it to come back together. Due to the fact, again, it's lighter greens, we're just going to take this. This basically is a mixture, and the recipes are all available for you, of just balsamic vinegar, Dijon mustard, thyme, garlic, salt, pepper. Very, very simple. For a quick vinaigrette at home, I'm not a big fan of store-bought vinaigrettes. I just don't like the background flavor of them. Balsamic vinegar, a little olive oil, a little salt, pepper, maybe a little Dijon is great for a salad. So you don't have to add all those ingredients in there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to whisk this up. And as we're whisking it up, we're going to pour a little bit of oil in here at a time. If you were making a vinaigrette that was going to be that you wanted to stay separated, we would actually take it and we put it in a blender and mix it at a higher speed. You'd also sometimes add an egg to it, or any of these solids that we talked about, the garlic, all those things. We refer to those as emulsification agents. Any solid is going to help the fat from coming back together. So the goal is to separate these, but this vinaigrette is going to be a lot like an Italian vinaigrette that you have at home that you buy from the grocery store, and you have to shake it up, and that's a temporary emulsification. So we're going to mix this up, and if you buy a higher quality vinegar, you're going to need less oil. So I take students to Italy every year for a food and wine program, and I love balsamic vinegar that's actually not just bottled in, and you have to be careful about what you buy, but actually produced in Italy. It's about 6% acidity, and that low acidity level allows you to use less oil. So again, we want a very temporary emulsion here, and then we can kind of mix this up, and then of course you would taste it. I'll go ahead and take the greens. The important thing too, especially if you're using 100% olive oil, for lighter greens like this, we do not want a heavy dressing. If you refrigerate this and that oil gets cold, it's going to solidify and it's going to make it heavy and it's going to weigh this down. You want to get me 2 pasta bowls? On the other side. So we're going to pour a little bit of this over. You do not want to overdress this. But a good salad should always be tossed in the vinaigrette. Never just take your salad and put it into your bowl and then pour the vinaigrette over the top of it. So we got that nice lightly coated. The other thing when I make a salad I like to do is when I put the greens down, I like to just lightly put them down. And a lot of times you'll get a salad and the greens are pressed down. And to me, that's not enjoyable. It's part of appearance too. So we have this nice light salad, not much effort. So we have our blue cheese for this salad. And you can just do blue cheese crumbles on here. And I like to actually have the cheese on top and not mix it all inside. If you mix it all inside, the cheese actually gets gray from the balsamic vinaigrette. And then also it all sinks down to the bottom. I also like to put some diced pears on there. Then maybe a little bit of sliced on here. And then a little bit of the pecan. Some of these are rough chopped and some of them are still whole. And you want to make sure when you do this that you put enough of each ingredient that you whoever's eating it can get a bite of pecan, a bite of blue cheese, a bite of pear with the salad. And I really like having some of it cut for the pears and some of it not. But that's just a nice, simple salad and not much effort. The next salad I'm going to show you is a lot less effort, but I think has the same impact. So, actually, I'll just use those same greens. So we're going to use the same greens here. And again, this balsamic vinaigrette does not have to be have to have all the ingredients in it. I like the aromatics in there. So this is one that we did a lot. Mandarin oranges, just canned mandarin oranges. I know you're saying, what is this chef doing? Toasted almonds. You can buy toasted almonds, spiced pecans, all at the grocery store. You don't have to produce all those things. We want you to be able to create a dinner. Sometimes it's nice to cook together as friends or family, but it's great to be able to actually just eat, right? And not have much effort. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of feta cheese on here. We're going to put a little bit of the mandarin oranges. And it's a really beautiful salad too. At home, we try to do seared salmon once a week at home. And one night we made this salad, and I thought, I just want the salad and salmon. We actually put the seared salmon right on this. As a chef, I thought I was crazy. It actually tasted extremely well. It was really, really good together. Little toasted almonds. And then you have a nice, again, this salad, you bought the greens from the store. Mandarin oranges came, you can get those in a can or in a jar. You can buy the toasted almonds. Feta cheese either comes pre-crumbled or I would rather buy the feta cheese in the brine and actually have all those ingredients together. This salad takes about 3 or 4 minutes to put together. It's very, very quick and really enjoyable. So now we are going to serve these to our guests. Scott and Kelly can fight over which salad that they would prefer. You want to serve these?
Hey, Jamie, I was just curious of how you choose greens.
Okay.
You know, in terms of, is it a mix at the grocery store, a bagged salad type situation, or?
Do you want to go grab the pea sprouts out of the refrigerator, the new ones that we just got? So for greens, the way we choose greens is totally depending on the season of the year. Right now, it's very tough. It's very tough to get really good greens in. However, we do have some local companies, and it costs a little bit more, but we have a dinner coming up this Friday that we bought pea sprouts for. And these are actually out of Moscow. So we love buying local products and supporting local products. These greens actually, because I just needed enough for today, I went to Safeway and I went through all the greens and picked the best greens possible. So, but we also have some miniature sprouts that come along with this, but we love supporting the local economy. This time of year when it's snowing outside, it becomes a little bit difficult, but these are all greenhouse. And again, these taste exactly like a sweet pea. I mean, they're absolutely amazing. Again, a little off script, but that's how we choose. We try to choose the best available, so thank you. Okay, so now we're going to talk, it's your time. How is it? So again, starting with simple ingredients. So did we give you the wrong salad? You're going to do a little fighting salad? So, and that's the wonderful thing about salads too, is they're shared, right? So you can actually enjoy those together. So we're going to talk about pasta now. So for our pasta today, we're making a chicken pistachio cream. Going to have zucchini in there. I just made this the other night at home. I actually made it. We made steak too, so we didn't make it. It wasn't a total vegetarian meal, but I'm okay with that. The zucchini in this really makes the dish. So it's going to have zucchini, the pistachios, pasta water. We're not going to cook the pasta in front of you. It's going to be like kind of like on the cooking shows, where we pull the pasta out, done, ready to go, just because of the time frame. Pasta. When you start your pasta water, I suggest right when you start your mise en place, which means your organization and your preparation. Okay, a couple clean towels. You want to start with boiling water, and it's very, very important to add salt. And most people, when a chef says add salt, I actually taught this week. People will go like this and add a little bit of salt. You have a lot of water here, right? So we need to add salt. So that's adding per gallon about a tablespoon of salt. There's no reason to, and I'll need some of that. Sorry. Yeah. Never add oil to your pasta water unless you're making raviolis. Raviolis, every once in a while, towards the end, I'll put a little olive oil over the top. The raviolis will float when they're done, and then they get that oil on them. But most of the time, when we put pasta in here, it sinks to the very bottom. When it sinks to the very bottom, all the oil's on top, and it's important after the pasta gets in there that you stir it around. The linguine, fettuccine, any of these items you want to get in there, you of course want it to soften up a little bit before you move it around. But it's really important to move it around and take a tongue or something and move it around enough so that they don't stick together. The water has to be boiling, and if there's not enough water, your pasta's going to be gummy. So it's really important to have enough water and enough salt. The water should actually taste salty. Really important. So boiling, you don't want to start your pasta until all your mise en place is done. Pasta is going to take about 9 minutes. We can actually have the pasta water going. When we start the cooking of the pasta ingredients, is usually a good time to start the pasta water. Some people will cook pasta ahead of time, and we did that today just to save some time. But there's no reason to do that. It's better to have hot pasta right out of the water into the pan. If you're using fresh pasta, you're going to want to definitely cook it. It's going to take less cooking time, so you're going to have to get your sauce further along. So you can add a little hot water to this. All right, so we have all of our ingredients. And when I'm, can you give me my oil back too? I think you get a ladle now. So I like to line up the ingredients, how they're going to go in the pan. I wouldn't recommend putting your hand in a pan like that, but I wanted to make sure it was hot. I'm having some technical difficulties here, so we're going to definitely want to cook our chicken first. And we're going to actually put these, we're going to stage these, and then we're going to put them on a plate. So I have 2 entree plates. So a little bit of oil, and I'm using an olive oil canola blend for this, and that's going to help with the smoking point. Olive oil doesn't have a great smoking point. And spatula. So we're going to wait for the oil to heat up a little bit, and then we're going to take our chicken and put it in here. And you should hear a little bit of a sizzle when we do that. It's always good to let your protein set there for a second, because if you don't, what's going to happen is it's going to stick when you try to move it, even in a non-stick pan. We're going to salt the chicken just a little bit. I always believe in salting your food as you go, and the reason we're doing that is we're building flavors. If you just salt everything at the very end, everything's going to be one-dimensional, and we're trying to create a cohesive dish, so a dish that kind of goes together. We have a question?
Yes, so someone was asking for clarification on what it means by smoking point.
Sorry.
Smoking point?
So the smoking point is you see the point where the oil actually starts to burn and starts to smoke. And so an olive oil actually has a very low heat resistance. And it actually causes some, your mic's not on, is it? Yeah. So it causes some, it can actually cause some, what's the partisan? What's the thing that for the oil, the olive oil, when it heats too fast? I've been here since 6 o'clock this morning. So it actually, but it actually can be unhealthy for you. So she's food science, so I knew that she could come up with a term for me, but I've been teaching here since 8 o'clock this morning. So, but the smoking point is really important. So usually we mix our olive oil at home with a little avocado oil or canola oil, and that allows us to cook with that flavor of the olive oil and cook at a high temperature. So the smoking point, there's certain oils you do not want to cook at the high temperature. So,
Jamie, can I ask you about that? Because I like to cook everything on high, which I know is a really probably bad idea.
Yes.
What do you, like, what level do you normally set your pan for something like this? Where would you
so
cook
right
it?
now we're sautéing. So sautéing means that we're actually trying to get a little color to this. So we're actually browning it a little bit. Normally when we're cooking, we hardly ever do anything above kind of medium heat. Sautéing, you can hear that. This is a beautiful sound for a chef. You can hear that sizzling, and we want that sizzling. I am keeping this down just a little bit, and part of that reason is we're wanting to cook our chicken a little bit through. The chicken's still going to continue to cook in the sauce, and normally I don't use a spatula when I'm sautéing so much. However, this induction burner, this temporary induction burner I set up because we had a little power outage here. Every time I lift the pan off of it or move it, it turns off. So if you see me going down and turning it on. So but you can see we're starting to get some nice browning in here. And we're going to, so that it's going to start cooking the chicken. This chicken's going to be most of the way cooked when I pull it out of this pan. Very important too, at this stage, we're going to switch spatulas. This had raw chicken on it. So we got some nice color there. So now we're going to remove that. Now we're going to cook just a little bit more oil in there. We're going to cook our zucchini. Now we're going to salt this again. I really think, again, the zucchini makes this dish. So, and if you want to cover this totally with water, with the hot water. Yeah. So, linguine or fettuccine, it's a great pasta. When you're choosing your pasta, it's important that you choose one that actually is, I know college students can't afford, they want to go for the cheapest pasta. However, the little bit more expensive pasta actually has some texture to it. So it also, it's dried a little bit slower, so it has a better snap to it. And a lot of people think fresh pasta is better. In some cases, I take students to Italy every year. In a lot of cases, even in nice Italian restaurants, they're cooking some of the dishes with dried pasta. And the reason we do that is because we want to cook that pasta in the sauce a little bit, and we want this to be al dente. And fresh pasta, really, you can't really have it al dente, right? You can have it cooked totally, but I want this pasta to have some structure, so when I'm cooking it in with the sauce, it's going to retain that. And I talked about I didn't want things to be one-dimensional. I don't want to put the sauce over the top of the pasta. I don't want to serve pasta and sauce. I want to serve a pasta dish. So having the right pasta is really important, and spending a little bit more money for higher quality pasta will have a better result of the sauce sticking to this, to the pasta. So also, so we have pistachios, and the pistachios are partially fine ground and some bigger chunks, so we have some different textures in there. The other key ingredient is Parmigiano Reggiano. I know I'm a stickler for this. I take students to Italy every year. It's very, very important to use the right cheese. The pre-shredded stuff, it's not that good. And it's just not that good because it has starches and stuff on it and it does not melt correctly. So grating your own cheese is very, very important for whatever you do. So we use Parmigiano Reggiano for almost everything here that we put Parmesan in. And it does cost, in some cases, a little bit more. However, if you look at the true price tag for what you're purchasing, sometimes this looks like it's a lot more expensive because it's in a package, but per pound, the true Parmigiano Reggiano is less expensive than the pre-graded, less quality.
One of our online students would like to know, how much chicken did you use for this particular dish?
For this dish, we only have actually, I think it's about 4 ounces total, because we have protein in the pistachios, we have protein in the cheese, we have protein in the pasta. You don't need a lot of protein for this dish. So if you can see in here, the zucchini is getting, and again, I made this the other day, and nobody even noticed that it didn't have protein in it. Of course I love chicken, I love steak, but this dish with the zucchini, especially adding this color to it, getting this nice caramelization, as you can see in the pan, I really don't think the chicken is 100% necessary. This is a dish that, actually I worked at a restaurant years ago, and we did a dish similar to this, and it had zucchini and chicken in it, and so I put those things together. But at home, and to be honest, I wouldn't necessarily always put chicken in this dish, especially during the summer when the zucchini and the fall, when the zucchini is really good and really fresh. I would definitely, and yellow squash and different things work really good in this dish too. So we have some color to this. So now we're going to add our garlic. We always add garlic towards the very end of the cooking process. The reason we do that is garlic has a lot of sugar. Garlic burns very quick. A lot of people will throw garlic in with their other vegetables, and we would have little black spots of burnt garlic, which would create bitterness. If you can strain that off too. So we're only cooking the garlic for maybe a minute. Definitely as soon as it starts to brown at all, we're going to remove it. Not remove it, but add the cream. In Italy, it's surprising. When I first went there, I thought everything was going to be really heavy on garlic. So now you can see it browning a little bit. We're going to add the heavy cream. I thought everything would have a lot of garlic in it. Most of the time they smash the garlic, sweat it out in the olive oil, and they remove it. Just like I said before, we're going to put a little bit of salt, kind of build those flavors. I'm going to add those pistachios right in here. And we don't really need to reduce this down at all. We have some fresh ground nutmeg here, just a little bit of nutmeg. Nutmeg goes a long ways.
I just want to
Maybe a
say
pepper
for the
grinder.
benefit of the people at home that it smells incredible.
Oh,
in
thank you.
here
Yeah, that
now.
little bit of garlic cooking,
The
it just
garlic
is
was
amazing. And
amazing.
you can smell the oils coming out of the garlic, and that's when you know, again, you don't have to cook it very far. Do a little fresh cracked pepper. We just set all these pepper grinders. Most time when I first test grind pepper, I do a little bit on the counter. That way I make sure it's not too big of pieces. This dish too, the beautiful thing about this dish is this dish, again, whatever wine that you're thinking that you want to have for that night is going to pair decently with this. I don't want to say every wine. Pistachios pair very well with red wine. The cream, I mean, this would go great with a Chardonnay, with a dry Riesling, with a Merlot, I mean, with the Cab. I mean, this dish, it has the proteins in it, and again, the zucchini and all those kind of things. It's not a dish that, again, I'm not saying that all those wines pair perfectly with it. I think a Viognier or lightly oaked Chardonnay would pair extremely well with this. But you can have, however, you can have whatever kind of wine you wanted with this, and you'd still have an enjoyable evening. And we do a lot of wine pairing dinners, and my thing is your night out. So it's what you want to drink. If you want to drink a Busch Light with this, drink a Busch Light. If you want to drink really nice high-end wine, spend $200 for a bottle of wine, that's your night. So we're going to put some of the Parmigiano Reggiano in there. We're just going to let this melt just a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit more of the pistachios in there. You're going to get 2 plates out of the warmer. They're over here. Okay, we have our pasta. We're going to put our pasta in here. See Maddie jump back. It's like, what's he doing? And another thing too, as I kind of teach my students and I do at home, is just like what we're doing right here, it's clean as you go. The worst thing is getting up after dinner and having to clean this huge mess. or not. That's up to you. So we have our bowls here for the pasta. Let me tongs too. I told Maddie to totally get set up, have her all of her utensils set up for what she needed, and she's running for me. So I probably have used all of her utensils up for her dish. So pretty close. But for us here, so I'm gonna bring this up to simmer. The cream is not reduced very much yet. I want the pasta to cook in with this sauce. I do not want you to taste it and say, oh, pasta, oh, pistachios, oh, cream. I want everything to kind of taste together and work together. So just like whether you're making spaghetti, again, it's your choice, but I don't think spaghetti should ever be served on the plate with the sauce over the top. You should undercook your pasta a little bit and cook it in that sauce and let the flavors develop in there. I think it's so important. I know it looks beautiful having that white pasta with that red sauce on top and then Parmesan on top of that. I know it's a beautiful plate. It's not enjoyable to eat. It's enjoyable to eat. So, and the chef is always right? So we can move most of this here. So I'm going to taste this sauce just because I actually have people eating it, and I don't want them to say that it wasn't good. I don't think it needs anything. So one of my beliefs here with our students is we actually collaborate on all these dishes and work together. Even for this, good? Yeah. Even for this recipe, we actually tested it like 8 times with the students being involved in it. And that's great. They get to eat and they're college students, but it creates a collaboration, which is a lot of fun. So you can see how this is starting to cream up in here. And we're about to the point where we're going to have this amazing pasta. You can start setting your stuff up right here and get rid of this. Yeah, this is, again, we cooked this perfectly. So this sauce is really being absorbed in this pasta. And again, if it's a first date or first time with friends and you don't want to eat the long pasta, those shorter noodles work really, really well for this dish. So we're going to add this all in here. I didn't want to overcook the chicken stuff because that chicken's fully cooked. Now I'm going to crank this up and finish cooking this. So I saved a little bit of the Parmigiano Reggiano, a little of the pistachios. And I'm making sure this is non-stick, so I'm making sure I'm not touching the bottom of this. So you can turn on your mic and talk about. I'm going to hand it over to Maddie. So one of the things that I believe in is having our students actually be involved in the teaching, be mentors, and so they get a little nervous about some of these things, but Maddie does an amazing job. Yes?
So they want to know, when cooking with wines, does it matter between like cheaper wines and more expensive wines or box wines?
It does. So, and there are some decent box wines to cook with. The wine, if you reduce down a wine and it's bad to start with, it's only going to get worse. It's very important to cook with a good wine. A marinade, you can get away with a little bit less expensive wine because it's actually breaking down the connective tissue and the proteins. But you should always cook with it. I believe if you're using a cup of wine, why not open the bottle that you're going to drink with that dinner, right? Then save that wine if you can while you're cooking. And then that wine is probably going to pair extremely well with that course. So you end up with this amazing food. And a lot of times when we're cooking, I will use the wine that we're going to serve with the dinner. If it's a wine dinner, I will use that wine in the sauce. And it kind of helps pair the dish together. So.
Great.
But yeah, a really inexpensive wine is not a good way to go.
And someone else asked why you choose not to use croutons in your salad.
Actually, croutons for a Caesar salad is perfectly great. I think for a salad like the poached pear and the blue cheese, croutons would be really good, but it would not be my choice. I don't think it would match. Pecans, sunflower seeds, fried, different, you can use vegetables even. You can fry Brussels sprout and put something crunchy on the salad and not use any of those things. But nuts, legumes, all those things work really, really well. Some of the salads we do here, we actually put fried wontons on and different things. So it's texture is what you're looking for. Okay, so we have our pasta. We're gonna try to make this as even as possible so we don't get in trouble over here.
I'm not sure what two people you thought were eating all of that pasta, Jamie.
You want to go ahead and unplug that and get rid of that?
Huh?
Go ahead and unplug and get rid of that.
Oh, no.
And then you can turn on your mic. So I'm going to serve this pasta, and then Maddie is going to take over.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready. Yes, Chef.
So we have our pasta dish here. You need a damp towel. So we're going to put a little Parmesan Reggiano on this. That little fresh parm adds a really nice texture. We're going to wipe the plates too, a little bit. The fresh pistachios on there, give it a nice look. And a lot of people think, why are you wiping the plates? The food's going to taste the same. A dirty plate is a huge distraction. If we had sauce all over the side of this, and you would automatically go right to where that sauce was instead of looking at the great food. Enjoy.
I feel very lucky. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This looks amazing.
It's all you.
I'm gonna do the strawberries
So you
first.
can come right here. Yeah,
I'm gonna do the strawberries first.
perfect.
It is amazing. Thank you.
Now I'm going to become Maddie's assistant.
No. It's all right. I kind of know what I'm talking about. I know things about chocolate.
I think we're.
All right, so I'm making chocolate covered strawberries today, and actually with chocolate, when you use chocolate, it's actually, chocolate and water aren't friends, so when they mix together, even if you get a drop of water in this chocolate, it will start to seize up because the water molecules will bind to the cocoa molecules and the sugar molecules, and it will start clumping. So you really don't want to add water, so actually you don't want to wash your strawberries. You can just wipe them with a towel, and they will still become clean, and because you don't want water. But if you really want to wash them, if you're really worried about it, you can wash them, but they need to dry for at least a day because they need to be completely dry so that they don't disturb your chocolate. Some things I pre-dipped a little bit so that you want some of the chocolate hard if you're doing multiple designs. So I did a couple of designs here. I did one that's like striped, and I did like some half-dipped ones that are really pretty. And it's really easy to make them look really elegant. So you can make it look super fancy and like you did a lot, but it's super not hard. So I'll take my strawberry and actually melted just normal chocolate in the microwave, and I added a little bit of canola oil because the canola oil will thin it out and make it easier to dip, and it will also make sure that you don't have to temper it. Also, when you bite into the strawberry, it'll make the chocolate softer so it doesn't like crack and like fall off of your strawberry, so you can still eat it with the chocolate on. So I'll take this one, I half dipped it at an angle, and I'm gonna take the other half and dip it at the other angle like this, and actually kind of scrape it on the side so that it doesn't get too much. And then I put it down on my parchment paper so that it doesn't stick. Otherwise it will like really stick to your pan, it'll be hard to get off. Sometimes I also like to take a fork and with my melted chocolate, and I'll pick it up and I'll like make stripes. It's really easy. Just melted chocolate, and it looks so pretty. And then sometimes for the dark chocolate, you can also put white stripes. But when you dip your strawberry, sometimes I like to make a little pool by like tilting the bowl, and I like to go straight down and get really close to the top, but not quite to your fingers. And I like to drain it a little bit and then scrape off the side and then place it down on the wax paper. And then you can put white chocolate on top. Oh, that one sees that. And then this one, you can dip halfway. So it's already fully dipped in white chocolate. So I'll dip halfway in dark chocolate, and it makes it an elegant stripe. Ta-da! So pretty. Really easy thing to do, especially for Valentine's Day. It's really quick. You don't need a lot of materials, and it's super delicious because fresh strawberries and chocolate is everything. Then my second dessert is tiramisu. Now, this is a really awesome dessert, and it's actually not that hard, especially if you get store-bought ladyfingers. Oh, do you want me to do more white chocolate? Okay. So, let's see if I remember how to do this right, because let's find out. Okay, I think I started with 2 egg yolks. I'm using pasteurized egg yolks because I'm not cooking them. I'm just mixing them. So it'll be safer to use pasteurized. So 2 egg yolks, and then I have 2 tablespoons of sugar. You're gonna whisk those for me? Oh my gosh, thank you so much. He's gonna whisk egg whites by hand for me until they're medium peak, so it's in between soft and hard peak. See, this is why I need chef with me, so I don't have to do the hard part.
And you can still move it over to the center.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So someone would like to know, what kind of chocolate did you melt?
So I just used Ghirardelli chips, then I melted those, or like you can use semi-sweet chocolate chips. You can use any type of chocolate you want. I don't really like to use the compound chocolate. That's like the candy melts because it doesn't taste as good, and you can still get the same result if you add in the canola oil. I use canola oil because it's flavorless, so it won't like affect the flavor like olive oil. Like that'll make it a weird flavor because olive oil has really strong flavor compounds. And I have a spaghetti. Okay, so I'm mixing my eggs and sugar together, and I also have cognac. So it's like a whiskey type liqueur. It actually gives a really nice flavor in desserts. So I add that to my eggs, and I just mix it up. And then over here, I have mascarpone cheese. It's a soft cheese. It's kind of like cream cheese, but it has a different flavor. It's really important to do mascarpone and not cream cheese because it's that flavor difference. It's really important. So I just kind of soften it up and mix it a little bit. And then we slowly add our egg, cognac, and sugar mixture. Just mix it in there. And it'll start to loosen up. Might be better to use a whisk, but whatever you got.
And also on those strawberries, what is the chocolate to oil ratio that you prefer to use?
Oh, okay, yeah. You have mostly a lot of chocolate, so you don't want to add a lot of oil. Like for the amount of container I had for this, I only added maybe like a teaspoon, maybe a teaspoon and a half, because it really doesn't need a lot. It just needs a little bit to thin out and have those molecules and stuff. So I'm just gonna mix this until it's smooth. It might be light. I actually need a whisk for this one. Can I have a whisk? Like the small whisk? Because this needs to be smooth. I need a whisk. It's okay, I got it. Chef is used to everybody getting stuff for him, so.
I'm gonna turn
It's
my
all right.
mic back on.
Don't. All right. So I make this mixture smooth, and then we'll add in the medium peak egg whites, and you're gonna want to fold it in with a spatula because all the air that you whip into it, that Chef is doing right now, all the work that he's putting in, you don't want them to deflate, so you'll want to start from the bottom and like roll to the top. So when you're folding things in, you want to start from the bottom and fold over the top of the egg whites so that the air doesn't fall out. So you'll just like gently fold your other mixture on top. Then for the ladyfingers and coffee mixture, just keep going. You got it. So I actually took some espresso powder, some instant espresso powder, and I mixed it, followed the directions on the thing. It was 6 ounces of water and 1 teaspoon of espresso powder. You can make it stronger if you want. But I'm gonna add some coffee liqueur. I think it's 2-to-1 ratio of like tablespoons. So like 3 tablespoons and like 1.5. And then I'll also add 1 teaspoon of sugar. And I'll take a pastry brush, and I have my container right here. I'll take my pastry brush and my ladyfingers. These ones are just ones we bought from the store. You can also use like a vanilla sponge cake or anything like that you want. So I have my coffee, sugar, and coffee liqueur mixture, and I'm gonna take my ladyfingers and I'm gonna brush them, really soak in that coffee mixture. You really want that flavor in there. Sorry, I'm going too fast, I'm nervous.
You're making me work hard.
I'm just kidding. So I really like to soak them and to make sure to get like all the edges too. And then you're gonna put face side down and kind of squish them in there. And you try to fit it all across the bottom because you're gonna make layers. So tiramisu is a layered dessert. I'm gonna put some at the bottom here. All right. And then I'll add my egg and cream mixture, and you'll layer it on top. So you'll just put in a layer, smooth it out, and then you can do another layer. And you'll do the same thing, add a lot of coffee to really saturate it so you get all that yumminess. And then you'll put it face side down, and you'll make as many layers until you get to the top like this. I used 17 of these size. I counted. And then my favorite part is decorations. I'm so excited. So here at Wazoo, we also make chocolates. And in our chocolate making process, we have this byproduct that's actually really pretty. So we have these like shards that we made from, what we do is that we make our own molds for some of our chocolates. So as we're dipping out the chocolate, so you'll fill it, and as we're dumping it out, we'll get stuff like this, and it will harden, and we'll break it into shards. And it's really fun to decorate with them because they're really pretty. So, and we also have these soy lecithin transfer sheets that we can put tempered chocolate on top of, and it will transfer the design onto it. So sometimes I like to put the shards just like standing up because it's really cute.
So we have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
First off, do you know where you might be able to find ladyfingers in the grocery store?
We found ours at Safeway.
They're over by the bakery area,
Yeah,
and we
the bakery.
And actually for tonight, we've I don't think we've never purchased ladyfingers here. We've made them or we made sponge cakes, but tonight we really wanted to show this this recipe that you can actually make this at home, and with everything's available at Safeway. We really believe that if we're sharing recipes with the public, that it's not something that making ladyfingers and going through that whole process is great, and I would suggest trying to do that at home, but it's really important to actually make it where it's doable and fun. And so this dessert is actually really simple to do at home. They sell mascarpone cheese at Safeway. Ladyfingers are there. I think they're at almost every grocery store, but they are not by the cookies. I found that out. It took me about 20 minutes to find them at 5:30 in the morning. They are definitely by the bakery areas right outside of the dairy case.
And then someone also would like to know, would you ever recommend letting the ladyfingers soak in the mixture, or would that make it too soggy?
These particular ladyfingers were really soft, so they were kind of like a sponge cake. So if you soak them in there, they will actually like fall apart. They will be too wet. So I actually like using the pastry brush because you can control how much liquid is absorbed. But if you put it in there, they might fall apart.
Yeah, they're pretty soft. Where the ones we usually make, we usually make a sponge cake. It's the same type recipe, but we actually then can cut it to the exact size that the layer is going to be. And I prefer that, but again, we weren't going to do a recipe tonight and showing you how to make sponge cake because that's a lot of work. So
It is a lot of work. So I just had fun decorating. I just made a bunch of random
I like it.
decorations because I was just having fun. I didn't want to be serious. Normally we're a lot more elegant. I swear. But chef let me do this, so I can do whatever I want. Also, before you serve this, you want it to set up in the fridge. So after you do all of your layers, you're gonna want to put it in the fridge so that your egg mixture and mascarpone mixture can set. So you'll have like defined layers. We also have raspberries here, and we have a balsamic reduction.
and it's a balsamic glaze, and you can buy that
glaze.
at Safeway too, so you don't have to make that.
Yeah, because that takes a while to make too. And we just put it in the little hole of the raspberry, and it makes it a really nice decoration. It also adds that like tangy flavor with the sweetness and the tartness of the raspberry. Really contrasts it.
So again, Maddie is mainly food science, and but she works with us a lot here, and it's great when the students can be inspired and they really bring a lot to the table here. And we work. I try to let them be creative. She's being very creative tonight. I like it. But this would be a fun. This would be a fun dessert. But but she's definitely worked. She helped kind of today. We kind of even reworked this recipe to make sure we got it to you. When we're making it for 100 people compared to making it for 2 to 4 people, it's a lot of work to get that recipe down to the proper size because the ratios do not always work out perfectly. But if we can turn this around.
Oh yeah, my lovely design.
And how long do you recommend keeping the tiramisu in the fridge to set?
Overnight is definitely I preferred. However, you could make this, refrigerate it, an hour later eat it. If you keep this wrapped up tight, it can be in the refrigerator for 4 or 5 days and still be. Most restaurants would make this, have it wrapped. It's really important though, desserts, when you put it in the refrigerator, that you wrap it really tight so it doesn't pick up any of the garlic flavors or any of those things, because that's not an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, and
So
the
when
walk-in
I-
pastry is really
So when I take this
Yeah.
one home, I've got to eat it in the morning.
You
then.
have to eat it in the morning for
Okay,
breakfast.
okay,
Yes.
good.
So again, all these recipes were designed so that you could actually. Some of them were a little bit more complicated, from just having cheese and spreads and different fruits and different things, from then going in and having cooking a dinner, making salads, and how to simplify your salad too. And now we get to eat dessert.
This looks beautiful. Thank you so much. I can't wait to try the raspberries. That's what I'm in.
Sorry, I went crazy on the decorations, and that's not elegant.
Oh, wow. That's epic.
So the raspberries kind of add a little touch of the kind of acidity to the dessert with all the fat that's in there, and it really helps.
Well, salmon is amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you.
Another level to it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. How was the pasta?
The pasta was rich but delightful. So good. I felt like we were supposed to do like the little like Lady and the Tramp thing. Sorry, I missed out on that whole.
What I liked about it is I thought you could have done without the other protein.
Yeah.
You could have been a vegetarian very easily.
Definitely.
The richness of the cream, and it actually wasn't heavily seasoned either. So it was a very simple seasoning. It seemed to be very, very easy to make at home.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's like you have a job on Chopped. I like it.
Nailed
Thanks for
it.
not chopping us.
No, you guys definitely got through to the finals.
Well, so hope you enjoyed everything, and again, I want to thank Maddie, and also we have a studio audience over here. Some 258 students have been sitting very quietly, and they're hoping they get to eat, so we'll have to work something out for them. But again, we love what we do here, and it's all about the students. And for me, having students come here and start working, and they become mentors, teachers, and it's what it's all about. That's what we're here for. So you did an amazing job. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, and go Cougs.